people.
Okie doke, you ready?
Yeah, let's do this.
Okay, hello. This is episode 46 of the Following Mechanical Turks project. Today, we're going to talk a little bit about the data collection for the second product, the first round, where we were asking folks to generate summaries of 4 different types of media: an image, a video, a piece of audio, and a short paragraph. We were having folks provide summaries of that through Mechanical Turk. The first round of those are in. So that's 24 batches of 5 responses a batch. Gives us 120. It breaks into 30 for each of the 4 media types. So those are in. We need to talk about if we want to move on to round 2, where we will have a different hit, where folks will basically select from a pseudo-random group of 4 from one media type, which one is the most readable. And by doing multiple permutations of that, we hope to have the 30 hits sort of sort into ones that are more readable as determined by these hits, and ones that are less readable. So that's round 2. The question is, do we want to take what we've got and move into round 2, or do we want to add some more to the pool by posting hits that have a lower base reward, but the opportunity to get a higher, higher than 0 bonus on top of that, which is a common structure in Mechanical Turk. Sometimes the reward is quite low, but there's the possibility to earn a higher reward. This would be seemingly an interesting opportunity to do that, because the reward could be based on those rankings, right?
Yeah.
So if we have a lower base reward, but a higher bonus, based on, ideally we would be able to sort these, and probably you would. I mean, we're doing so many permutations, even if the differences were slight, they'd be there, that are going to provide a rank order of 1 to 30, readable to least readable. And that would be more than 40, I guess, if we get more that are driven by this new structure. So potentially that'd be as high as 60, so we get 20 for each permutation. But anywho, the reward could be based on that. The big caveat there is that reward couldn't be dispersed until after round 2, right?
Yeah.
Which may take some time, and it may be that the timeline Turkers are working on, that wouldn't be great, where if it's like, okay, we'll give you 50 cents to do this with the promise of, or the potential for a bonus, but that bonus may not appear for weeks to months. I mean, this is an academic timeline, in which case, I mean, I think as long as you're clear about that, it's not a big deal. But it may be unusual that it's like, you'll get a bonus, but you may get a bonus, but it's much later in comparison to how you're accustomed to receiving bonuses.
Yeah, but I wonder though if that would still, I mean, I guess the bigger, or another question too is what would we learn from this?
Yeah, so in terms of doing it, it's another version of examining the readability of the prompt itself.
Yeah.
So, I mean, right now we have 2 permutations of the the prompt, one focused on time and one focused on the task. So that is to say, the actual language is the same, but the description and the title that folks see differs. It either focuses on, the one that focuses on the task. Well, I can actually just pull this up. Says title, for example, summarize an audio clip, right? So it's telling you what it's doing. Description, summarize a 20-second audio clip in one sentence and answer 2 rating scale questions, right? The ones that are focused on time say title, 2 to 3 minute research survey, which may not be accurate. Description, answer 3 brief questions, 2 to 3 minutes, made in parentheses as an aside. So, the language of the hit is the same, but the presentation is different, in part because we're looking at different notions of readability, not just readable summaries, but also what does readability mean in the context of hit language itself, right?
Yeah.
So doing a third version that is different, and this would necessitate seemingly a change to the actual language of the hit, because it's going to have to explain the compensation structure. So some things would have to be different. Yeah, and what we get out of this is a third vector in this aspect of the study. What happens if you offer a lower reward, but with a hit, because or with a bonus? Something we talked about last time, looking at preliminary information, and really, since I've kind of taken a look through the rest of the results, really what we saw in the beginning is what we've continued to see, where even very quickly you saw answers that I think we as humans would say those are pretty good responses. And then you also see some that are completely irrelevant.
Right.
I didn't see any that were objectionable, because we have to call out ones that are threatening or profane because of terms of service. But there was a surfeit of ones that were nonsense garbage, including, as sort of an interesting pattern, some that were coherent with each other, but had absolutely nothing to do with the question.
What do you mean?
So, for example, we had a couple, at least, responses that say, summarize this image, and they'd say an 18-year-old woman is smoking, which has absolutely nothing to do.
Right.
Unless they're referring to you or Garth Brooks.
Yeah.
It just has no bearing at all on what is going on in the media. So even though those were separate workers, separate Turkers, it suggests strongly, there's no way that's a coincidence.
Right. Okay.
It suggests strongly that, the same entity was logging in with multiple worker IDs, right? Be it a human or a bot, whatever. So that's actually, interesting information to point out in the ultimate analysis, that it's like, even though these are separate IDs, that strongly suggests a connection between these two, which, means either a, human who was just rapidly copying and paste nonsense into whatever, or a bot doing the same thing. That's probably what's going on there.
Yeah. And to what end? I wonder if.
Well, they got their money.
Yeah. I mean, do you think it's the, all good faith efforts are rewarded and they help just to get close enough on them?
Well, and I did, because even though, and this was in the IRB, the proposal, even though it says that basically everything that isn't objectionable was accepted because we wanted that.
Yeah.
For our purposes, those are still good responses because they're crappy responses.
Right.
We wanted to see the range, and there are things you can do to potentially control that. For example, obvious one is you can do things like set the score that Turkers minimally must have in order to respond to your hit.
Right.
And those scores are predicated on previous hit responses, right?
Right there.
And we had a lot of people who had absolutely no score. So these were either, new or garbage accounts or whatever. But I was fine with that, right? We set the net ultra wide just to see what you get.
I wonder, I mean, it just occurred to me, is that potentially, rather than doing another round that has a reward built in it, do we do another round that actually has a threshold for which Turkers we want to complete it?
We could.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing. It's like,
we could, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of possible permutations here. I mean, as you mentioned, I think kind of a core question is beyond, well, yes, we could do that. Why, right? I mean, what question are you trying to answer rather than just throwing spaghetti against the wall? Although part of what we're doing is throwing spaghetti. I mean, we've made that clear. Part of what we're doing is throwing spaghetti against the wall. I guess just how much spaghetti do you want to throw?
Well, yeah, I mean, it strikes me, I mean, that one case that could be made for that is, given that those scores exist and that those scores are used by requesters, I mean, does it make sense to think, I mean, we've been thinking about, right, that we want to see what Mechanical Turk as a system generates. But it sounds like that there isn't just one
Right.
MTurk, right? There's the open MTurk, but then there's an MTurk that's sorted by, reputation or so.
Yeah, I mean, there's all kinds of qualifications, right? Common ones like hit approval rate, right? That's what I'm talking about here.
Yeah, right.
Location, number of hits approved, which is another number, right? Related to percentage, which is just sort of like a minimum threshold that you've done, right? Rather than, because you could do one and have a 100% approval rate.
Yeah.
Then there's a whole list of premium qualifications, but those are things that tend to do like fine-grained demographic stuff, and those are less car owner. Those are less
nice. That's because you're probably looking for specific, yeah.
So I don't think the premium qualifications are really that useful for what we're doing.
Yeah.
But the general ones, may.
It strikes me, would we get a different
pool?
Yeah. I mean, the assumption being, well, maybe not, right? That we probably wouldn't get simply better descriptions from that group, but we might get fewer duds from
less
that group.
cruft.
Yeah.
That might be interesting. It's not like, did one of these win, but what was the highest scoring lowest? It's like none of them won, but there were none that were out of the top 15.
None that were a young woman smoking cigarette.
Yep. I mean, that's a possibility. And of course, anything we do here, we would have to submit an amendment to the IRB. But like in that case, I suspect it would go quickly. We're not in a terrible rush, I don't think, with this.
No. But I think too, if we're trying to tease out, particularly with this second one, right? Because we're kind of getting at the Turker experience and we're interested in the the ways the Turker interact, it strikes me that that built-in mechanism of sorting Turkers based on their reputation is potentially a good thing to account for. Because I'm also imagining too, right, that some of the criticism we got on that first batch is the jobs you're looking at are the jobs that no one took.
Right.
So you're not necessarily, the hits you're getting aren't necessarily the good hits.
Yeah.
Is something resonant happening here, which is, well, you're getting a lot of shit Turkers.
Right. But again,
we're not that criticism makes sense. It's also a criticism that somewhat mistakes what we're up to.
yeah, I mean, that's a criticism from a human's perspective that's saying that you're not seeing what humans actually do. It's like, I don't give a shit what humans actually do. I care about what the platform does, right?
Yeah. And in
the
that
garbage
sense,
that's on there is
yeah. But in that sense, the platform does also have a mechanism that's designed to sort out garbage.
Right.
So we'd still be engaged with the platform, and the platform has this mechanism whereby you can attempt to control for, garbage answers.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, we can certainly do one or, more of those. I mean, I bring it up also because since you have some funding, I did the first round here, and I think I've still got around $1,000, right? And I can't remember what the budget is for the second round, but it still wasn't going to tap that completely. And the reason for that is the money I requested was, we were doing a slightly different version of this, which was going to take more money because it was going to be more ornate in round two.
Yes.
With the changes to round two, it doesn't take as much money. But we'll have sufficient funds to cover if we wanted to expand.
Yeah.
Otherwise, that money would just be spent on more round two iterations, right? I mean, just more of them, which is fine. But we can, I mean, let's see. I mean, I wonder if you do both rate and number, just to set, a threshold. And I wonder then, see, and this is the thing, is it gets into complexities, because one of the reasons why we did what we did at the first round is there were multiple pay scales, right?
Yeah.
What do you compensate? So for example, if you're using these qualifications to get, a different kind of worker, do you then compensate higher? And then is that the real differentiator?
Yeah.
Or do you stick with the highest compensation level, which was $2, and then just add this so as not to, as not muddy that question, right? If it's the same compensation level, the only difference now is we're asking for a more select group of people. Then you don't have two factors of both the parameters and the difference.
I think that makes sense. I mean, I think we just tweak the only thing we're tweaking is the level of Turker. Might
see some interesting differences on those scale questions. Yeah, about fairness. It's well, for an open net, yes, but for when you're asking for particular things, no.
I think that given that that's a mechanism within the system, it seems interesting to try to engage it in some way.
Okay, we can do that. This will also be interesting exercise in writing up a amendment.
Yeah, what would need to be, I mean,
Well, basically that,
yeah,
that there's a slight change here in terms of getting different users. But yeah, I mean, it's very slight, but should be filed.
yeah, yeah.
But I mean, you saw how rapidly the last one came back.
Yeah. Yeah, our IRB, I think is now made its way through because we have a medical school.
Right.
Basically, anybody that wasn't doing COVID research had to sit on it for longer than they normally would have.
But we could do that. Yeah. Write up just that small amendment. And then assumedly that'll get approved. And then we can do an additional, let's see. That would add, let's see. It'd be only the one, well, yeah, but I want to add another 30, I don't think. Yeah, we might have to hash out because I mean, yeah, but that wouldn't really be. If we did it just at one pay at the highest, and minimally you're talking 5, so you're adding another 5 to the pool. I guess you could expand that if you wanted to. Just trying to work out, because we had the 2 different types of statements, but then we also had the 3 pay scales. So within each one, you're basically getting 6. That's where that 30 comes from, right? It's really 6 different ones, 5 apiece, because there's the 2 different write-ups and then 3 pay levels on each, right? If we're doing it this at just 1 pay level, then minimally you're talking about an additional 5, although you could change that number and just say, well, we want 10, right? So that then the pool expands from 30 to 40 instead of 35. Yeah, whatever. I don't know. We'll figure. Yeah. Okay, well, that's something we can do. And we have the funds to do it, so we'll give that a shot. Following that, then I guess we just do round 2, because I mean, again, this is not going to take that much money. So yeah. it leaves a whole pool or a whole chunk for round 2, which I guess we'll just fill with more and more iterations.
Yeah. Do you want to look at some of the results from round 1?
We can. I mean, we did last time.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
What are you?
Just curious.
We can. The caveat is I need to strip them so it's just the responses.
Okay.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm looking at a few. Yeah, anywho.
I might just be looking for a chuckle.
As we looked at last time, which I guess would have been a month ago.
Yeah.
Some of them are, well, because there were 24 of this, it took a month to do. Because I was basically doing one a day, so there weren't serious overlaps.
Yeah.
And I had to do them in order of compensation level, so it's not like, hey, here's the same job at 2 different rates. Anywho, but there's an interesting mix there. That's the gist of that. Let me just make a note here about. Oops, crap. Ah, crap.
Uh-oh.
Well, I closed something I didn't mean to close. Okay. The only, I mean, the main thing also is product one revisions, right? I mean, that's under a tighter timeline in a way because we need to finish that.
Yeah.
And let's see, did you add something to it?
The introduction.
Yes.
Yes, I've been plugging in some notes for building in this stuff from Brown's ethical programs about in software that I think help address several of the things that people wanted for the introduction.
Yeah, I'm pulling it up here. Yeah, I think that, I mean, particularly now, I think that's the focus because
Yeah.
It'll take a little bit to get the IRB revision in and then assumedly approved. And then it'll still be data collection. So, I mean, I think this is the focus.
Yeah.
You know, we're in data collection for the second product.
Yeah.
That's the gist of it.
Yeah.
When do you
No,
finish?
I just sent off the other thing I had a deadline for. So, and the wax search I was doing is over. So my time has opened up quite a bit.
When does your semester end?
Last class was yesterday.
Yeah.
So just got to grade final projects, and
Our
then
grades are due Monday.
it opens up. Yeah, our grades are due the 20th, but it's just students are working on revisions and stuff. So
Wow, you guys have a big grace period between last class and grades being due.
yeah, well, the students get like a couple of study days. So
Well, let's
yeah.
see. We have, because technically this is finals. Well, I think finals week technically ended yesterday. We get our semester, you know, technically ended last week. Then you get, I think, a day or two of reading. I think it was just a day. I can't remember.
Yeah.
And then finals week, and then our grades are due Monday. It's a pretty tight turnaround here. So I have to, the good news, I suppose, is, you know, I'm in good shape. There's always sort of that sprint, but, you know, the enrollments have been so weird this semester. One hidden advantage is I simply just don't have the same number of students. So there's less
Yeah,
work.
I did, but there was an attrition issue, I think, this semester.
Yeah, well, that's what I mean. Yeah, I had students who just disappeared. I mean, they're just ghosts, and there's no real way to. You send them an email, but it's like, all right, well, tied my hand. You know, I mean, there's what else can I do here? So
Yeah. So yeah, so next week is I'm just going to kind of have floating office hours. But yeah, I don't think I have any. Yeah, I'm also, university is also getting a new core up and running, and I'm a part of that team as well. So, but yeah.
changes there. All right. Well, is there anything else?
No. Oh,
Okay.
apropos. Yeah.
I mean, do you want to look at those revisions, or it's been a while?
Yeah, they're just notes. There's nothing really to look at. A lot of it's quotes that I'm going to work with. They're just sort of chunks.
Let's see. I mean, the sort of refleshed out, and that's the interesting thing, is like the opening material that's talking about Amazon and labor has only become more relevant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So right now I'm just thinking through kind of clarifying our argument about what we're doing in, you know, the sort of the stakes, the parameters, what we're doing within mechanical Turks, and connecting that more explicitly to rhetoric. So leaning a lot on the Jim's book at this point.
Yeah, I might read through this just to kind of refresh what it was. Okay, all right, well, that's the gist of it then.
Yeah.
We'll focus on this. After the semester ends, I'll turn to submitting that revision, which I
Yeah.
don't anticipate there being a big problem with. All right.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm looking forward to the summer.
Yeah. Are you teaching?
No, but because of this core thing, I still have bi-weekly meetings, but I won't be actually I can get stuff done while I'm teaching because that's still, intellectual work. I mean, the biggest thing about admin stuff is it just changes your brain.
You heard it here.
Yeah, heard it here, folks.
Administration is not intellectual work.
No, that's not what I said.
Well, it is what you said.
Yeah, well, it's a different kind, right? It uses a whole different set. So I was tweeting this, right? Even if you can, I mean, they talk sometimes, right, that the whole thing is right. Well, if you have a heavy admin load, you can't do research. And that's always pitched as a function of just time. Like you're not gonna have time to do it. I'm like, well, I can carve out the time. It's just really hard to bracket off admin stuff. Anyway.
All righty. All right. Well, I will we'll check back in 2 weeks.
Okay.
Yeah.
Episode 46 just sort of petered out. So
well, we cover what we had to cover. These don't all have to be an hour and 15 minutes.
That's true. That's a good point. Okay, buddy. Well, I'll see you soon.
All right. I'll see you.
Bye.